So you own a STIHL FS 240. Awesome, congratulations. What a freaking beast. 2.3 horsepower, 12,000 plus engine RPM, solid steel drive shaft. This thing is made to own the blackberries, the salmonberries, the reed canary grass, the stuff that is combating you from outside of your property, the stuff that's coming at your lawn and trying to overtake it. Today we're going to take a look at what you need to know now that you own one of these and have one of these in your shed. So let's start with the basics. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but let's go with obviously. Obviously, this is a 2-cycle machine, so we're running oil and gas. I'm mixing STIHL HP Ultra with 1 gallon of ethanol-free fuel. And I want to stress again, ethanol-free fuel. I know for some of us, it's really kind of a pain to get to the gas station and find ethanol-free fuel, but make that trip, spend the extra money, because you will thank yourself long-term on the life of this machine and the lack thereof of fuel problems you're going to have with ethanol-free fuel. So we're running mix oil, fuel in this machine. I kind of jumped way ahead, but I want to start this up first. So I'm going to start by putting some fuel in the tank. Now you do have an alternative. We could run Moto Mix. Normally, if I'm running a machine of this size, I'm going to be running it a lot more, so this may not be the most economical option, but for sure, when you're done with it for the season, when we get into late October, November, and you're not going to be pulling it out for months, because most of the time I'm not running this in January, although frozen cold blackberries do obliterate really well, just kind of a side hint, but this is what we want to store it with. This is what we want to hibernate it with. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some fuel. Just enough to fire it up. And then we'll start it up. We'll go over kind of the starting procedures, and then we'll get into kind of the safety and the maintenance and some of the other stuff that you'd like to know. So let's tighten that cap up. Before I do any priming or pumping, this stop switch, stop button is ready to go. So I don't need to do anything here. The first thing I'm going to do is pump this button. Traditionally, I say 5 pumps. Since it's brand new and it's never had fuel pumped through this system, it's going to take a few more. 5 as a general rule is never too few, and you can never do too many pumps. Does that make sense? So if I only gave it 2 pumps, it may not be enough to get the fuel up to the carburetor, but if I gave it 100 pumps, it wouldn't hurt a thing. So 5 pumps, and then I'm going to push this button in right here and twist. Okay, I'm going to twist that up. The choke is on now. Now the best method to start this is actually to get down on the ground, make sure your trimmer head, either the blade or the line head is clear, put my hand right here, grip the starter rope. Hold on, Josh. You know, we should probably do some safety stuff first. I say that with a smile on my face, right? We should do some safety stuff first. So let's get on these awesome glasses that came with it. Let's take off this nice plastic. Boom. And this is what we want to wear with one of these. We need to protect our ears. It's loud, it is ripping, and we are definitely throwing some stuff at us. So we have our safety stuff on, and we're going to 1, 2, 3. As soon as it starts, I'm going to hit the trigger. It is now warming up. I usually will let this warm up for 30 seconds before I throw the harness on and go to work. So now that it's been started, actually all I have to do is pull the rope and go. Pretty nice, huh? All right, I really didn't need my safety stuff for that, but I want to reiterate the importance of safety. Losing an eye over some tall grass is really not a fancy or a fun thing to do. So we've got our safety stuff. We know about our mix fuel oil. Let's talk about that next step. This is going to have come with a 2-point harness system that you're going to wear something like this. And really one of the most important things with a brush cutter, a handlebar unit, is to really one of the most important things to know with a handlebar or a brush cutter unit is to spend some time adjusting this to fit my body. Really, this is heavy. It's not light. It's 15.5 pounds. But how do I make this balance and sit right on my hip using my shoulders so it's not on my arms? I really want this thing to kind of just float as I'm using that. That's going to come into where I'm placing my hook here, where my harness is going to hook up, potentially sliding these handlebars forward. So with this tool, you know, when you took it home, you kind of had a whole pile of stuff. You had this, we'll get into that bag, and you had this, and this has in it the STIHL scrinch, T27 Torx. This is going to change the spark plug, get to the air filter. But this little fancy end right here allows me to loosen pretty much every screw and move things to fit my body. So let's say I want to move this handle down just a little bit. I can loosen that, slide it down. Probably not the best way to do it, but there you go, you get the idea. Tighten that up, and that just is going to change that whole way that it fits me and my use. Never try to run it without the harness. You will wreck your wrist in a heartbeat. So first step, spend some time tailoring this to fit your body, to fit your application. All right, let's look at the top end. Let's look at the engine really quick. We do need to do some maintenance on this. You are going to be running it a lot harder than the traditional home use weed eater. This air filter is going to get dirty. So I'm going to take off the air filter cover. Can you guys see that right there? Sitting upside down. You do not need it to be sitting upside down. It's just the way it wants to sit on my table. Take those two screws loose. Cover comes off. And here is my filter, a nice pleated paper filter. I'm going to tap it off. I'm going to look at it. Can I see good light through it? Yeah, it looks okay yet. No, it's starting to look nasty. Time for a new one. So air filter. Keep an eye on that, especially if you're cutting tall grass, tall wet grass. It's almost like that grass, I don't know how to put it. When you pulverize the grass, it's almost like it's juicing it. And in the air is so much of this grass dust, wet, nasty stuff, and it will plug up the filter. So keep an eye on that. I don't know what to call this stuff. It's just like I'm juicing my grass and it's nasty. Okay, so keep an eye on my air filter. Spark plug is going to be hidden right under here. Like, where's the spark plug on that? It's under this black cap, and that's just as a way to protect the spark plug, protect you, keep you from dropping it and breaking off the spark plug. So let's take off this so you can kind of see what's going on underneath here. Let's see, that comes forward like that. There's my spark plug. Be careful the first time you take this spark plug boot off. You really need to shake it off like that, kind of wiggle it off. If you just rip it off, you'll pull the boot off and things get costly. So there's my spark plug hiding under there. There is one other thing that I see quite often with the FS 240. This thing has power. This thing has more power to it than most people will ever need or want. They really need that power, but you're maybe not used to it. So you end up running it at half throttle. And this is a 2-cycle machine. That's bad news. What happens, guys? What happens when we run a 2-cycle machine at half throttle? We plug up our exhaust. So right here, here's my exhaust. Right here on the back side of this muffler, there's a screen screwed into there. That can plug up. When you pull the rope on this thing and it sounds constipated and it sounds like it doesn't want to come up to speed, you more than likely need a new spark arrestor or a clean spark arrestor. How do we avoid it? Good mixed fuel, clean air filter, and running it hard. If you do those things, the likelihood of plugging this exhaust up go down greatly. So keep that in mind. I think we got the engine end covered. Let it warm up, run good fuel, keep my air filter clean, and then run it hard, okay? Let's go down to the bottom end. Let's learn how to put a blade on. But before we do that, let's look at options for different heads. With this machine, it's going to come with the bump head as well as the hardware to put on a blade. We've got all kinds of options when we get into blades. I have this brush knife with me today, and we could also run the polycut head. This works really good on heavy, tall grass. Or we could run the DuraCut head, the head that you put in just strips of line, and usually you can run really massive size trimmer line with this. In my opinion, not the best head for this trimmer because I have a harness on, and when this line wears out, it's really hard to get down to the bottom and switch that line out unless you take the harness off. I don't want to do that. So I'd maybe recommend the polycut head or a brush knife, or the AutoCut 27-2 that it came with. Let's go ahead and put the blade on. We're going to need this pin. Came with this pin. This pin is going to drop right in here like so. Rotate head until it locks. There we go. Spinning the head off like that. You know, here's something. They got those handles. It's kind of a nice little platform to work on. Take out the brush knife. One of many options in blades. STIHL feels this is a really good for, you know, that 1/2 inch to maybe 1 inch material. Cuts really well. It's going to center on this arbor like so. And then I'm going to open up my blade accessory pack here. I have my washer, my thrust washer, goes down convex. I have my protector cap. I can't remember what they call this. I call it the UFO. Okay, the UFO protects the nut and the threads, and then I have my reverse thread locking nut. Spin that on, reverse thread. Did you hear that? Not standard thread, so I didn't talk about that when I took the trimmer head off itself, but reverse thread. And there's my tool, and I'm just going to tighten it up. We're now ready to go attack the heavy-duty brush that's out on the back of the property. And one thing while we're down here, let's point out this grease plug. Okay, this tool, the T27 Torx, will open this up, and STIHL has a nice, cute little bottle tube of grease like this that threads in and give it a little light squeeze. So, head maintenance, engine maintenance, letting it idle, optional accessories. There we go, the STIHL FS 240. If you're looking for the ultimate, you already own the ultimate in power for your property. Now you know how to take care of it so that you can get the most out of your STIHL FS 240. Stop by Carl's Mower and Saw. We're here to help you get the best service and support you need for your property.